You can memorize every modality and developmental stage of group therapy, but that theory means nothing if you cannot manage the physical room. Turning those clinical concepts into a working session requires precise execution. It demands preparation, an understanding of the session's structural arc, active in-the-moment facilitation, and precise documentation. The foundational axiom of clinical group work is straightforward. Good sessions are meticulously planned. They are never improvised. Before anyone walks through the door, the leader establishes a clear, measurable objective. Selecting a broad topic is not enough. Deciding to talk about relapse is a vague aim. Instead, a targeted clinical objective ensures that by the end of the hour, every member will be able to identify 3 personal relapse triggers and 1 distinct coping strategy for each. A vague objective produces a drifting session, leaving members with abstract conversation instead of the intended clinical outcome. Preparation starts long before the session begins. The leader gathers any necessary materials and mentally sketches a timeline, allocating specific minutes to each phase of the upcoming work. The preparation also extends to the human elements. The leader actively anticipates interpersonal dynamics, predicting exactly which members might require extra attention or containment based on previous interactions. Even process-oriented groups, which operate without formal content, require this rigorous mental setup. The facilitator must review where the group left off, identify unresolved tensions, and calibrate expectations to the group's current developmental stage. The physical setup of the room itself is non-negotiable. This schematic illustrates the absolute requirement of circular seating. The connecting sightlines ensure visual equality between all positions, preventing anyone from hiding or dominating the physical space. This circle must exist within a completely private space. Protecting clinical confidentiality requires an environment where members know their disclosures cannot be overheard. The facilitator actively curates this environment, removing visible clutter and minimizing distractions before the door opens. Thorough physical and mental preparation frees the leader to be present and responsive, rather than scrambling to manage logistics during the session. Every effective session follows a recognizable 5-stage structural arc. The first stage is the opening, beginning precisely on the clock. The leader welcomes members and explicitly restates the group's norms. During this opening, the leader utilizes a check-in to gauge the room's emotional baseline. The session then moves into stage 2, bridging. Here, the facilitator connects today's work to the prior week's session. Through bridging, the leader reinforces continuity and accountability for previous practice. This brings us to the core of the hour, the working phase, where primary clinical content is delivered. The mechanics here depend on the group type. A skills group spends this time on interactive rehearsal, while a process group shapes the here and now interactions. Next is stage 4, integration, converting insights into usable takeaways. Finally, stage 5, the closing. The facilitator summarizes and ends exactly on the clock. Strictly respecting these exact temporal boundaries models the consistency, structure, and reliability that recovery demands, and that many members have lacked in their daily lives. When delivering content during that working phase, even heavy psychoeducation must never devolve into a passive lecture. Adults learn and retain information based on a specific mechanism. Retention only occurs when members actively participate and map the material directly to their own lived experiences. To maintain engagement, the leader employs specific interactive tactics. They ask targeted questions, invite real-world examples, and use brief in-room exercises to break up the delivery of information. Skills groups require actual physical rehearsal. Members must practice a refusal skill or role-play a difficult conversation in the room, building competency through immediate coaching. The principle is simple. The more the members do, the more they learn. A facilitator who talks for 50 minutes has delivered a lecture, failing to engage the specific change mechanisms unique to a clinical group. Delivering information does not guarantee it was absorbed. The leader must continuously utilize an active mechanism known as checking for understanding. By requiring members to put concepts into their own words, the facilitator converts a one-way transmission of data into genuine, verifiable learning. Executing that interactive delivery requires continuous, low-key background management. The leader keeps the group on track without steamrolling demacral conversation. This involves a delicate dual task. The facilitator must issue gentle invitations to draw out quiet, disengaged members, while simultaneously containing individuals who tend to dominate the airtime. The leader actively listens for shared themes, linking one member's experience to another's to weave a network of interaction that builds safety in the room. But the most critical clinical pivot is knowing exactly when to abandon the meticulously planned agenda, recognizing that the real-time needs of the group have shifted. These pivots are triggered by immediate, live variables, a sudden eruption of intense feeling, a spontaneous teachable moment, or a member entering acute crisis. In these moments, the leader performs a continuous calculus. They balance the urgent needs of the individual against the stability of the entire group, deciding when to focus on one person and when to pull back to the whole. After the session, live facilitation is codified. Documentation requires recording each member's attendance, participation, and clinical response. This carries a strict ethical constraint, documenting one member's disclosures while absolutely protecting the confidentiality of others, ensuring no note exposes anyone else. Facilitation that looks effortless to an observer is actually the product of dozens of invisible micro-adjustments during the hour, followed by objective, compartmentalized documentation after it ends. New clinicians frequently encounter predictable failure points. The most common pitfall is yielding to the default urge to talk too much, turning the group back into a lecture. Another failure point is a leader's personal avoidance of conflict. When a facilitator sidesteps tension, the group remains artificially superficial, preventing meaningful therapeutic work. Furthermore, losing track of the clock destroys the structural arc. It leads to abrupt endings that leave members ungrounded, robbing the session of its integration phase. The remedy for these failures is discipline. Prepare a rigid arc, talk less, protect airtime fairly, and respect the clock. The craft of running excellent groups is not an innate talent. It is a highly specific skill built deliberately over time. Recording sessions, with appropriate consent, and undergoing supervisory review are among the most effective ways to grow, as they expose a leader's unseen blind spots and unconscious patterns. Co-facilitation allows leaders to observe and provide immediate feedback to one another. Combined with honest self-reflection after each meeting, these steps turn raw experience into refined clinical expertise. By combining preparation, temporal structure, and reflection, the counselor turns theory into a repeatable practice, delivering the specific therapeutic forces unique to the group setting.